with the three of us. Thank you for coming in and sitting down on the sofa with us and joining us tonight.
Let me mute my phone so we won't be interrupted.
Yeah, okay. My ringer's. I'm good.
There we go. All right. You know, I was talking to Kim earlier today, and we were just talking about like relationships that just seem like they're in disrepair. And we were having a conversation on what we thought would be the best path to forgiveness. And we said, that might be a good conversation for us to talk about tonight. I mean, it is around the holidays. It is family-oriented holidays. And there's a lot of people out there that are, disconnected from their loved ones. So,
Unfortunately, that is true.
yeah. I don't think it's ever a good place, especially around the holidays.
To be disconnected from people who matter.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
You just don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So.
And, I think that it's no easy way to fix when you have to forgive. I don't think that there's an easy way to do that. Or a universal way, like you can apply one thing to all situations. I think all situations are different. Mm-hmm. And, the thing that I would probably say is that there has to be a willingness to forgive. Some people are comfortable being unhappy.
Mm-hmm. And holding grudges.
Yeah. Some people thrive on that energy. And there has to, in order for that situation to happen, there has to be a willingness for it to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times, I think people get caught up in, I'm right.
That's true. That's a good point.
They can't get past the fact that somebody in their mind, in their hearts, wronged them. Mm-hmm.
Or perceived wrong.
Exactly. Which is my point that I was going to state. The older I get, the more I feel like there could actually be more than one right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not necessarily a wrong, but there could just be more than one right. And it just lends itself to being a little bit more open-minded. Because historically, I don't, my daughter told me, she was like, no, you haven't really been that open-minded. And she was like,
I can see that though.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so
I would disagree with that though. I mean, knowing you like I do today, things have to make sense. And now if something is if something doesn't make sense to you, then it's never going to make sense until it is made to make sense.
But that is making sense to her. But you have to look at another person's perspective. And I can see how in her younger years she might be like, no, this is it.
Black or white.
Yes.
Right. I am starting to see gray.
Right.
Probably because I can't see that well.
Right.
I can't see that well anymore. But everything is kind of gray. But yeah, I'm starting to understand that there could be other factors.
That's right.
That play into why
That's
somebody
exactly
may
right.
do something.
Have done something that they did.
Doesn't mean that you get like a complete pass and
No.
Get to treat people, myself included, like a doormat. But there could be other circumstances besides my own that makes people,
I think there's a
do
difference
and act a
between
certain
reasons
way.
and excuses. So I think you're right. Sometimes there are reasons why people have done something that you think is just like out the box. And then, and it's always good to try to see that person's perspective instead of just walking away and just being like, you know what, this was wrong. I don't care what you say. And that's that.
I was going to say the same thing, that it's important to try to look at something from somebody else's perspective.
Yeah.
Because, that gives you empathy. And empathy is, I'm not saying that a person was right, but I understand why you thought or did what you did. And that's so important because we do get stuck in situations where we lack empathy or we lack, the understanding or trying to see it from any other perspective other than our own.
Right.
Also, and when you get older, you start to realize, like, am I going to make any more great friends in life? You may, and then you may not. So I think a life without friends is lonely, because...
Or in search of friends. That's even worse.
not having them, yeah, and wanting them, right, and not finding them could be definitely
Companionship is definitely what we need.
a desolate island to live on.
Yeah.
But the relationships that you have, I feel like if they really are valuable, then you have to ask yourself, is it worth fighting for?
Right.
Is this worth fighting for? And if you come up with the deduction that yes, this is worth fighting for, you have to get in the ring. But the trick is you need the other person in the ring with you. And so if the other person doesn't feel like it's worth fighting for, and you've communicated that I do, you may be just at the point that you have to let it go because the other person no longer feels that it serves them anymore.
So let's talk about this situation that you and we were talking on the treadmill.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
We can talk about
We're
that.
working
Okay.
out.
I know.
It was a fluke.
It was a one-off.
Today must be Tuesday. So. Wow.
I don't know what we were doing.
It was a one-off.
Sweating? Oh my god.
Right. 10-mile runs today.
Oh wow.
Damn watch gave me credit for 6, but anyway, I digress. I have a person in my life who is dear to me, and we were very tight when we were in our 20s. Grew apart, came back together. Long story short, she had some medical issues. Her mother had some medical issues. Her mom passed away, and she reached out to me. It was right before I left for the Beyonce concert, which was October 6th. So she reached out to me in the beginning of October and told me, that her mom passed away. I was like, I stopped everything. I was on Stony Island. I did a U-turn. I was like, I'm coming to you now. So drove her to her house. Her adult son let me in. Got up in the bed with her, and we're laying there. We're talking. She's crying. I'm comforting her.
Side note, you are like a superhero in a crisis.
Okay.
You are. I mean, you
Yeah,
you're
well.
like, da, 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 da. Well, I'm sorry. I had to say that.
I gotta come put my arms
It's
around you.
actually a true assessment of her.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I'm laying there and I'm talking to her, and then I discover her mom passed 30 days before. So I was like, and her mother and I were pretty close. And, sorority sisters and all that. So I was just really shocked. Like, she passed a month ago? And I was really hurt because I would have wanted to be there for her and her mom to say goodbye, just to be there.
Right.
But then I thought, I'm not going to express it because any hurt that I'm feeling never is going to trump what you're feeling because it's your mom, right?
Right.
So I'm laying there and she was like, yeah, I didn't tell anybody, don't be mad. And let me just say this, my friend had also had a heart surgery of 7 days after her mom passed because she had the medical issues. So I was just comforting her, and we were talking about her physical pain, her emotional pain. So she was just going through a lot. So I'm thinking her mom passed and she hasn't had a service. They had a service, had a repast. After the repast, had a big old shindig, and nobody told me.
And she's finding out about this 30 days.
30 days later.
After everything. After all the services.
So a person I've known for decades. So like everybody from my childhood, from grade school friends, high school friends, everybody was there, and I was like,
Did not one of you mofos tell me?
well,
I'm sorry, I'm not saying
so
that.
I just kind of felt like, and I understand that she was like, I couldn't bring myself to say anything, she was just so, and I understand like when you lose somebody that's really close to you, you can't bring yourself to make phone calls, but that's when you say, hey, Jeanette, I need you to make these phone calls, call these people for me because I can't.
Right.
And I was so, but I was sitting there, at this point, I'm no longer comforting her, I'm like this.
Now she's side-eyeing her.
She done covered the cape up.
I snatched the blanket back. I was like, what? You had a whole service? And she said, yeah, and they're like people, and she's telling me about the good time they had in the kitchen. And I was just like, and I couldn't say anything because, again, I couldn't make this about me because you just lost your mom.
I want to stop you again because that's so critical. You know, that people will make stuff about them, and your dedication, your loyalty to the friendship, you allowed, you know, the situation not to become about you and your feelings. And you addressed it at a later time. That is so
I haven't
She
addressed
hasn't.
it.
Right. It's just been living inside her
Forget
heart.
that
right?
moment. You know what?
Yeah.
If 2 days later, if you blow the spot up, that you get credit for the
That
2
was in
days.
October. I haven't said anything. It's been December.
Yeah.
So we both had birthdays. And I haven't said anything because I don't know how to say something to her about it without making that about me. So I haven't found the words, but I did text her and said, we need to talk. Janae said, now I'm going to tell you, a lot of people don't know this about me because the people in my life are still here, but my cutoff game is so fucking strong.
You need to cut it.
It is strong. So like it is.
Which is something that we have a lot in common, but that
It
is
is
definitely
strong.
one of them. Yeah.
So like and the people who are in my life don't know that because they're still in my life.
Yeah.
But when I am done, there's nothing. And I don't know.
But I urged her not to.
And she was like, well, are you okay with not ever talking to her again? I was like, yeah.
And I was like, right.
Yeah. So, you know.
I'm like, I know you aren't going to wither up and die, but are you okay? Like, for real, right?
And
because she is important. If she wasn't important, you wouldn't feel the way you feel.
So.
Yes.
No, I also believe in, you know, because I've had this too before, the end of a relationship. Is it because I'm hurt or is it because I know you fucking lying? Like, I know you fucking lying. You did not tell me because you knew I would have wanted to say goodbye to her. But I'm good with if I don't talk to her again. I might talk to her about it and I might not. And the reason why I might not is because, yes, we were friends back in our 20s and 30s, but we are not that close now. She's a different person from when I knew her.
Okay.
So, and
we all are different people.
I don't, but I'm saying that's true. I don't know that but the core of who I am is very much the same. Of course, I have different things and I process differently as I should, but she is really different now.
But I want you to recognize that a lot of how you feel and the way you're processing in this moment is because you are still hurt in this moment and you feel a certain way. You feel disregarded, looked over, passed over when all these people, even insignificant people, were
that she admitted,
in attendance.
And she was like, she said she looked around her kitchen and was like, these people didn't even know my mother.
But you know, and the odd part about this is that she is talking to Kim literally about not inviting Kim. You know, it's so odd.
And I'm sitting here like,
but bring around a Rosie. We're not going to discuss it, but we're going to discuss.
But I'm going to tell you everything else
it.
that happened without you.
Yeah.
And by the way, this happened too
and
without you.
So-and-so was dragging me around my feet in the kitchen. They were trying to make me laugh like some football players who went to college with.
And she's sitting there like,
I'm literally like, yeah. So really, she's like, well, I know, I just couldn't tell. I was like,
yeah. But you do feel hurt. I want you to recognize the emotion. And that is the catalyst of saying, I could live without her. I could do this. You can. But you wouldn't want to if you didn't have to. You understand? So I just want for her to give, because I've lost my mom. You've lost your mom. And so the headspace is a very peculiar planet
I
of
get
its
that,
own.
and I get
Right.
that, and I get that. I can't totally relate. I can't. I get that. However, you had people there to say, hey, so and so, call Kim. You had about 15 people there who had my number.
Yeah.
Now, and they would have done it had you told them to. But it's not their responsibility nor their place to reach out to me when you haven't given them the nod.
Right.
Why didn't you give them the nod?
In all fairness, just with that space of, the time of death until that person is in the ground, it is really a blur.
It is a blur.
You don't, and I'm not saying that she did or she didn't, but you go through that space and you just kind of exist. And then you have superheroes like you that come and prop you up. And you don't really, when you go through it, you don't really know who's there, what was done. You remember the absolute best and the absolute worst.
He's
and
right.
Everything else is just kind of a blur.
And that
was
blur
naming
lasts
names on who was
for
there.
a long time.
She was naming
Well, you
names.
see, you don't sound like no regular person just based on the story. So.
She was naming names on who was there. And I was just sitting there like,
Like
by then I'd gone from laying down in the bed to cross leg like this.
No, she over there cracking knuckles.
Yeah, she's searching her purse for some Vaseline.
Right.
We gonna fix this
Wait a minute, she's
today.
taking off earrings.
Right, we gonna fix this today.
But
Damn, you can't be fighting people.
I was like, wow.
I think your biggest problem with it is you're telling me all these different stories, and yet you haven't acknowledged somebody who should have been there wasn't there. You're like, how could you not?
And you can't unring that bell. So
Right.
part of forgiving.
Nor does she feel any type of way about it. She doesn't feel anything.
she doesn't. She
Right.
doesn't, and she understands why I might be hurt about it. What?
But I mean, I'm not her advocate here, but she reached out, so she needs something. There was some part of that she needed you. And I'm not saying.
And I was there.
And man, I told you that was like the greatest thing ever. But it's something there with her where she needs you. She needs to have closure. And I mean, you adulted in this like nobody that I've ever known to adult before. And you even hit her with the, yeah, I'm gonna let you have your little time, but check this out. We need to talk.
That's what I told her today.
I
That
did.
was
Tell her
some.
that.
That was some real boss grown up
So
stuff. That's grown.
I was just like, wow, like, but I think a part of the healing is that a part of the forgiveness is that you have to recognize, you have to heal, you have to recognize, like, not just, I have to admit to my emotions, although I'm not as hurt as you think I am, but I need to, annoyed, because I know that that's a bell you can't unring. That is definitely how I feel. Amazed, surprised, dismissed, yes, but not as hurt as you think I am. But I do still, I've healed past it enough that I can have a conversation if I choose to about it. And I think part of forgiving is also looking at that other person's perspective,
If
which
it was
you have
any-
been very helpful.
If it was
because you've
anybody
been in
else
that
but her
position.
mother, I would be like, yeah, I don't know. But it's her mom, and I'm telling you, the space is just different, and it's different for so long thereafter. It doesn't just fix itself and correct itself. She's just trying to navigate and stay above water. She's just treading water. And so if you've ever forgiven anybody for anything, I feel like this would be the time to forgive her
Interestingly,
for an oversight.
when my dad passed, I forgave everybody for everything. Every single person. Now, that did not mean that, we were going to be chummy after that, but I forgave you. I made a conscious choice to not stay in that space.
Right.
And I wanted to try to get to another space. And, not even the day of his funeral, one of my cousins called me and threatened to, do harm to me at my dad's funeral.
Why?
It's a long, convoluted story, but, for that, I could not forgive.
I don't blame you.
And,
This was your younger cousin.
And he knew that your dad had just passed?
She.
Oh, she.
She knew that your dad had just passed?
She was very aware, and she was talking about that. She, I mean, my dad passed during COVID, so it was,
Yeah.
you had limits on what you could do, and
Right.
so we had video available. And she's like, "I'm bringing a crew," and she brought up this other issue that we had been having, and I'm like, "Man, you can't give me like 3 days to get them in the ground," and and I had just forgiven like 3 days ago, and
Wow,
I was
that's
right
too
back
bad.
there. And even her, in time, forgave. I don't forget. We can never be cool.
Right.
I did the weak stuff, like I unfriended her on Facebook and and all of that. But it's for me in terms of forgiveness. It's important. Forgiveness is always for the other person. It's never for you.
It's never forget.
So I mean, for me, if it's for the other person, why am I staying in that space? I want to forgive so
See,
I can
but
move
I
on.
don't know.
Forgiveness is for you.
It is for you.
I
That's
feel
what
like
I was
it's
gonna
not
say.
for the other person.
It is.
I
It's
feel
for
like
you.
it's for your peace. It's so that you can close a chapter or open it back up. However you want to look at it. You either move past it, move through it, but you don't harbor any bad feelings.
That's
and so I had a conversation with someone before, and I was like, I feel like there is forgiving and forgetting. I don't know if that is like a real thing, because I mean, you can't take your brain out, wash it out, and put it back in, and like act like it never happened.
Well, better now.
All right. Oh, that didn't happen. But I feel like you can forgive people and be in a space where you just say, I forgive you, I love you, I want the best for you. I just don't want that same relationship with you anymore.
Or we can't share space, or we can't share anything because man, I'm not going to be able to continue to forgive you if I see you enough.
But I had a debate about this, that's not true forgiveness. If I can't, call you up and say, hey, let's do this. I'm like, well, but wait a minute now. Why would I want to do that? Because you've proven yourself to be somebody that, I'm not safe around.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I put myself in harm's way again? That doesn't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean I don't want the best for you. That doesn't even mean that I don't forgive you for what you've done. It just means that the dynamics of our relationship, the DNA has been altered, and that you can't undo that. It's morphed into something different.
I'm a big proponent of, number one, that people want you to be sorry to the level that they want you to be sorry, but they want you to forgive them to the level that they want you to forgive them to. And
That's very true.
sometimes it's just about my comfortability. It's so I can see you and not choke you out or throat punch you, or so I don't plan something even worse. So in that forgiveness, I'm gonna forgive you.
I don't know. I don't even want to talk about
Right,
that.
I'm like,
I mean, fill in the blanks. I mean, it is what it is. But in my forgiveness of you, it's to my level of comfortability. It's so I can manage. It's so I can be a better person. It's so that I can separate myself from the energy that is not productive to what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I'm a big proponent of not feeding into that. And so I want you to be more sorry. I want you to forgive me more.
Or I need more apologies for
Play the
same
lottery.
thing.
The odds are better.
But so like we're talking like about the path to forgiveness, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I remember just as a young person, I learned how to use my words. But sometimes you want to get your thoughts out, your apology out without being interrupted, right? So I would like write my mom like
A note?
letters, yeah. And then this way I could get everything out without her interrupting me, right? And then whenever, like she wanted to go back and reread
reflect.
it, yeah. I mean, that's how I got permission to pledge. I wrote her a long letter, right?
Now people do that. It's called texting.
I'm not.
Right,
It's not the same. But
yeah.
But I'm not a proponent of writing information in certain situations because certain things are a conversation. And even, and I'm very good with writing. I'm very good with conversing, or in the hood, conversating. But I think that letter is one-way communication. And in your situation, it was necessary. You needed to be able to completely convey your thoughts.
Right.
I get that. But for me, sometimes, a letter, especially if somebody writes me a letter about something that I feel to be centrally important, I feel, like they bullied me a little bit. That's just me.
I mean, we're talking about an apology. We're talking
if
about
somebody asks
if
you to write a letter,
If
Wait,
I
say that
write
again?
if a person writes me a letter about something that I did, or
Oh.
Something that you did, but this is someone who's apologizing to you. This is what I'm saying. If
But
I
even-
wanted
even
to
if, but
apologize,
if he did something to you and you wanted to express
If
your
he did something
feelings
to me.
if you wanted to express your feelings to him and she wrote you a letter
Letter.
about how she felt about what you did, you would feel bullied.
I would feel slightly bullied because I wouldn't have a chance to
To
respond in real time.
yeah. But what I'm saying
For
is
you.
that
So you
just
feel-
the opposite. I'm just saying that if I wronged you and I wanted to apologize to you, but I knew that maybe it was going to be contentious, I would probably try and just write it just so that, because people need to hear and read "I'm sorry" without it being
I'm sorry. But,
before everybody digresses
and-
to something
yeah.
else, right? And so you get that out, and then perhaps you can have a conversation thereafter.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get what you're saying. I don't. So I was like, yeah. But I don't get what
What
you're
do you
saying.
mean?
So if you did something to me,
Mm-hmm.
and so if I'm dating somebody
Mm-hmm.
and he's done something to me, and I write him a letter expressing my feelings, like this is how I felt when you, blah blah blah. This is how it made me feel. That in turn, like for you, that's you feel bullied from that
Not
because you
necessarily.
can't give your
not,
retort for each like line item or whatever.
not in an expression of love, but in
Sounds
an,
like some control issues over there.
Right? That's why I was like,
I'm
yeah.
I mean,
saying,
I'm
right.
not above saying that I have those, but I'm saying not in a situation where you were it was an expression of love. I mean, I like to receive letters like anybody else, but when it was something, there was an issue or there was an impasse, more specifically, and then I got the letter. Letters to me, are symbolic of there being trouble or there's something wrong. I look at a letter like a write up at work. Whereas if I'm not doing something, hey Gary, do this, do that. When you take the time to write something down,
I love letters.
I love letters too.
Right.
But I love letters in certain situations.
I keep all the letters that anybody's.
My letters are
Everything's sentimental to me, right? But yeah.
But I want I want letters and for certain things. But if there's an impasse, then I would feel bullied if I received a letter about an impasse.
Okay. So I guess it just has to be okay because you feel that way. Those are your feelings,
I was
right?
about to say those are his
Right.
feelings.
Right.
Okay.
But I will ask.
You're wrong. But
one
I'm just
question.
saying. I'm just kidding.
The ex-girlfriend of yours who kind of messed up a trip. If she wanted to apologize and she wrote you a letter and said, Gary, sorry I was late and made us miss our flights, and sorry, that the trip is more expensive, and sorry
I can't repay you.
I said that I was gonna send you on the trip, but I'm not. Right? You would be like, this is some BS.
No, not in that situation because I would, again, it's situational. In that situation, I wouldn't be mad at her for that. And part of that is because I still like her. My feelings are in a good place. I just do not like what she did. I wouldn't feel bullied by a letter. I would feel exactly what was happening. And hey, I need to express this to you, and I need to do it in an uninterrupted way. I would get that part in that situation.
Okay. All right.
I'm not totally emotionally handicapped.
One day we'll divulge into why he feels bullied about letters because I still don't get it, but that's okay.
So we do admit that healing and communication has to take place.
Yeah.
And we do also agree that it has to be mutual. It has to be something that all of the involved parties want to do.
And to circle back to your situation, I just feel like if this is somebody that you love, they've never really done anything like this before, you know what? This is new, uncharted waters for them. And I feel like people earn or have earned some
She's
grace.
not you. So
Some grace.
she's not you.
And they've earned the benefit of the doubt. That's
She's
what
not
I
you.
always feel like.
She's not you. I don't disagree. Okay.
All right.
At any rate, December 17th is when we were planning our in-person event. unfortunately, we will
Well,
have
fortunately
to,
and unfortunately, you guys have been very communicative and told us that this is not a good date for you guys.
Yes.
We have like 12 people that told us they couldn't come.
yes, for
So-
various reasons, mainly because it's family obligations. So unfortunately, we're going to
Holiday
have to
travel.
reschedule it, and it will likely be in 2024, which is great because we have so much planned for you that is off the chain.
Yeah. I had so many people like, okay, what's going on? What's the date? What's the time? And they had all these other people like, Janae, no,
Yeah.
not the 17th. Oh my goodness. So yeah.
So family first. We understand. We hear you. We listen to you.
And thank you for communicating
Yes,
that to us.
and
we
we
appreciate
do.
that.
We get all of that. So just stay tuned because 2024 will be very exciting. We have a lot planned, and
A lot.
we're looking forward to seeing you and pulling you into our circle and having you right there in the audience. with us.
Absolutely.
So-
We cannot wait. This is again our 1 year anniversary. So we are, when we get together in January, we're going to have a great time.
Yes.
Not just a great conversation, but a great time. You guys stay tuned.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Everybody have a great evening.
Yes.
Thank
And
you
happy
again.
holidays.
Yes.
Like, subscribe, follow, comment, all of the above, and share.
Happy holidays.
Tell 5 friends.
Tell 5 friends. I like that.
But we'll see them before the holiday, right? Before Christmas?
Who said happy hour?
Me.
Oh. Well, you can say it every day if you want to.
Is it? No, I'm just. It's
Yeah,
not-
we'll see when I
okay.
get-
All right. Couldn't remember the calendar of it. Okay.
Oh, I feel that run in my knees today.
Girl, my 57-year-old niece. Got it?
The X. And that one, I don't. That's the X, I believe.
Oh, wait. This one isn't stopped.